Hi everyone. I am back with just a very impromptu live here on YouTube. I wanted to come and share my recent loop recorder check with you because I did learn quite a bit on this particular one, and I'm going to make a quick note here to myself, something that just popped into my head before I forget. So I went, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I have a Medtronic loop recorder, which is a device that's actually implanted into my chest that monitors my heart rate and basically keeps me um, tagged with my cardiologist as well as the Medtronic company that makes the device, right? So I have one because my heart rate runs a little high. And there's a whole other video that talks about my previous experiences with this thing, and I will tag that video in below this one so you can go back and you can look at that one if you want to kind of follow my journey a bit more. Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you today about was just a few tips that I learned from my cardiologist today that I never really thought about, but a few of them also that came into my head that I thought I'd share with you based on what he said to me. So, for those of you who have and this is predominantly for those of you who actually have a, a loop recorder, or you're a caretaker for someone who has a loop recorder, has these type of cardiac issues that are going on. I'm speaking specifically to them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or if this is not a video for you, that's okay. You can just scroll on by. If you want to know what it's about, then feel free to stay. I'm not going to be super long, but I do have a few tips that I did learn. So one of the things that came up today in our discussion was the AIP diet. And I don't know if you're familiar with the AIP diet. For someone who was diagnosed with lupus years ago, I am very familiar with the AIP diet. It actually stands for autoimmune. Let me tell you before I mess it up. The autoimmune protocol diet. So AIP, AI is autoimmune, P protocol. So the autoimmune protocol diet. And he mentioned that he said that quite a few of his patients have had a lot of success being on the protocol, the AIP diet, with lowering their heart rate. For those people who have this, it's called, the particular diagnosis for me is inappropriate sinus tachycardia, which is just a fancy word. My heart beats too fast. Okay, it's not life-threatening. For some people who may have like AFib, which I'm still being kind of monitored for, but for people who have AFib, they may have a another kind of device. But the loop recorder doesn't really address the speed of the heart. It only monitors the speed. For example, people who have, oh, what's the word? The people who have the little device that will shock your heart, the pacemaker. For people who have a pacemaker, when their heart does a funky thing, goes out of rhythm, then the that is life-threatening, then the pacemaker will kind of shock it back into its normal rhythm, right? But for that sort of issue, it's a life-threatening concern. I have what's called a loop recorder, which is still implanted, but there's no life-threatening condition. They're simply monitoring the speed of my heart. Because years back, I actually, funny story, and then we'll move on. The way I discovered that there was an issue was I woke up one night and I was literally looking for a rattlesnake under my bed because I kept hearing this rattling. There's a rattle literally woke me up from my sleep. So I jumped up and I thought, oh, there's a rattlesnake somewhere in my room. How it would have gotten in there, I have no idea. But I kept on searching for this rattlesnake and there was no rattlesnake. So when I finally went to my doctor and I was explaining all of this, they checked my heart rate and they realized my heart rate was really fast. And at the time, it was like 257 beats a minute, which literally means my heart was rattling within my chest, and I actually heard it, right? So that's how I found out about this speed. Now, they had me monitored on just a regular external heart monitor, and then a few months later, they determined that I really needed to be monitored on a 24/7 basis, which is why I had the loop recorder put in. So this is my third loop recorder. Eh, The This is my third, so that means that I've had this now for 7 years. So each loop recorder lasts for about 3 years. Then you have it replaced. So I've had mine. This is my third loop recorder, and I'm going on having this for about 7 years now. This is my first year with this third particular one. So one of the things, because I was looking at whenever you go to see your cardiologist, make sure you get a printout of your data. The data can be downloaded remotely, which basically means that I could be at home and then my cardiologist can download all of the data from my loop recorder from 2 miles away or 5 miles away, however far, right? But whenever I go in the next day to go and actually see him, I always request a printout of whatever download they received, because you do want to have that so you can have a visual of what your heart has been doing over a period of time. So this was several years back. I had, I think it was 647 episodes in a matter of about 18 months. So I was able to see all of that and see what time they were occurring and so forth. So that's another reason why you want to have a printout of the download, because what it shows you how many tachycardia episodes that you had, and then it within a certain time period. This is 1 month, so this was from December 4th, December 4th to December the 8th, which was roughly about a month or 31 days, however you want to look at it. So this printout is for that time period. So it tells you how many you've had in the last month, and then it also tells you how much you've had on the lifetime of the device. So according to this, mine says that I've had over the last, from December the 4th to January the 8th, there were 12 tachycardia episodes. And over the lifetime of the one that I currently have, there were 176 episodes. Now, there's also something that I wanted to make you aware of if you're not aware. In Whenever you get the device put in, they set a certain parameter. And the parameter is based on how the particular speed above which they want to see the episodes. Okay, so you might have a particular episode that occurred, where your heart rate is like 137, but if your device is not set to record a tachycardia episode at 137 beats a minute, it's there you're not it's not going to be recorded. It's not going to show up here. So initially mine was set at 140 beats a minute, but I was having like so many episodes at 140 beats per minute that it was raised to be recorded at 150 beats per minute. And oddly enough, there's still a few of them. There were still 12 that were way above 150 beats per minute. So that's another thing I want you to check is when you go to your cardiologist, have them see what the parameter is set at. Because if it is set at 140 or 100, typically the lowest is going to be 140 beats per minute. And so if you're having a lot at 140 beats per minute, they might raise it just a bit, because if 140 beats per minute isn't kind of normal for you, then they want to see what's happening at a higher. So check out the parameters. Always get a printout so you can see what your current episodes are, what the lifetime episodes are, and you can kind of average. So this is 176 over a period of 365 days, give or take, right? So they're not happening every single day, but these are only measured. The only ones that are being measured are the ones that are 150 beats per minute or above. One of the things it also shows you when you get your printout is it shows you the time that it was detected. So I have one, let's go to, this is 1756, which, and it, shows you in the military time. So 1756 is almost 6 o'clock in the evening, right? So at that one was January 6th, and the length, the other thing it shows you is how long it went on for. So this one at 5:56, that heart rate was 171 beats per minute, and it lasted for 7 minutes and 10 seconds. So that's the other reason why I strongly recommend that you get your your data printed out so that you can monitor when these are occurring. Now, the reason why you want to monitor these is that if you're exercising and if you have a journal, that's the other thing I want to recommend. Keep a journal and jot down everything. If you exercise for 5 minutes, write down the time that you exercise, how long you exercise, the kind of exercise that you're doing. Write all of that down in your journal, because then you can go back and you can correlate your data printout your with your journal information as well, your journal documentation. Because if you go back and you say, well, what was I doing at 5:56 that my heart rate was that high and lasted for that long, then you can say, oh, you could look back in your book and say, oh, well, I was exercising. So you know that the exercise kind of raised your heart rate a little bit. But if you weren't exercising and your heart rate is that high and it lasted for that long, then you have to think, what else was going on? Because here's another thing that could have been happening. You might have had some stress in your life, and stress can raise your heart rate as well. So you want to, this is why I encourage you to keep a journal and document everything. Okay? Document everything. So the other thing that it does show, yeah, it does give you the heart rate that you were experiencing. It tells you how long it occurred, and it tells you the time that it occurred, as well as the date. So you can go back and you can see the dates, and you can see maybe you had a few episodes on that particular day. It'll show you how many occurred on that day, and the time, the duration, and the heart rate. So the highest for me right now was 171 beats per minute. My highest recorded ever was 326 beats per minute. You did not hear that incorrectly. That was my highest ever recorded heartbeat. It was 326 beats per minute, 300 and something. I think it's 326. I have to go back and look at my records. But it's 376 beats per minute, and I never thought that was possible. And it occurred while I was sleeping. So that's the other thing as well. A lot of the times, because it shows you the time that it was detected, you can go back and you can say, well, I was sleeping during this time, so why are we having these kind of episodes during sleep, right? So it gives your doctor also, if you're able to kind of look at your journal and see based on the time, especially if you're asleep, your cardiologist will be able to go back and say, well, if you're having these kind of episodes when you're sleeping, let's take a closer look at what's going on, right? So that's the reason why I'm suggesting getting your printout and then also keeping a journal so that you can go back and see for yourself what's occurring and what could potentially be causing your heart rates. If you're not doing anything, if you're one of those people and you're not doing anything at all, exercise or whatever, then there could be some cause for concern, and it also gives your cardiologist a chance to really look a bit closer and maybe having to adjust some medication that you might be on, right? Or they may have to change a particular medication that you're taking into something else. So I wanted to bring that up. So let's talk about the autoimmune protocol diet that was suggested. So the autoimmune protocol is something I'm very familiar with because I was diagnosed with lupus many years ago, and this is one of the diets that I actually looked into to really try to get things under control. Now I was pretty much doing the anti-inflammatory diet because I'm vegan, so there's only so much change that we can really do to a vegan diet, right? However, my diet is not perfect. I do like to indulge in certain things from time to time. So, but even on a vegan diet, there are still, I'm looking at the autoimmune protocol, and there's still some things that I see that I am considering changing. So the autoimmune protocol diet is a specialized version of the paleo diet that basically focuses on eliminating foods that may trigger inflammation and different types of immune responses, right? Especially if you are already dealing with some kind of autoimmune condition like lupus, Sjogren's, diverticulitis, those type of things, right? If you're already dealing with those, the autoimmune protocol diet, it can be very, very helpful. But I did not know until I was informed this morning by my cardiologist when he said, he's had patients who have tried the AIP diet specifically for their tachycardia symptoms. So I said, okay. I said, well, I'm already vegan. So, I mean, however, even as a vegan, as I'm looking through, and I'm going to share with you some of the things in here that some of the benefits as well as some of the foods that according to the AIP, we should be eating, and according to the AIP, we should not be eating, okay? Because that was one of the things that really stuck out for me. Okay, so potential benefits. Now, this diet is not specifically designed for tachycardia, like I mentioned, it's for autoimmune conditions. But there are people who have found improvements, like I mentioned, in their symptoms by following an anti-inflammatory diet like AIP. Okay, so here are some of the potential benefits for those people who may experiencing tachycardia. Reduced inflammation, which is an overall benefit if you have an autoimmune condition anyway. So AIP emphasizes foods that may help to lower inflammation in the body, which could potentially alleviate some symptoms that are associated with tachycardia. Second benefit is improved gut health. And we know about that, right? When you eat well, your gut health improves, which improves the overall health of your body. So this particular diet promotes gut healing, which is believed to play a role in your immune system health. No surprise there. And many chronic conditions, including some heart-related issues, are linked to gut health. And they haven't determined that lupus has triggered this particular tachycardia, but they haven't said that, they haven't said yay or nay. So if you're looking at it as being an autoimmune condition, which they're saying that the inappropriate sinus tachycardia is, I'm going to look at it from that standpoint, okay? And when you have good gut health, it creates overall health in the rest of your body. So third benefit is it stabilizes your blood sugar levels because AIP encourages whole foods that may prevent blood sugar spikes, thus supporting overall cardiovascular health. Number 4, these are nutrient-dense foods. The foods on the AIP diet are nutrient-dense foods, and they focus on nutrient-rich foods that provide vitamins and minerals that are important for heart health and your overall well-being. So, those are four main benefits. So let's talk about the recommended foods on the AIP diet. Well, you know what? Before I do that, let me talk about the, let me go back to the don'ts first on the AIP diet. And I'll backtrack that way. Because this is what kind of, when I was looking at it from my standpoint, from my benefit, I was like, whoa, okay, maybe I do need to still adjust my diet a little bit more. Even though I'm vegan, I still need to make some adjustments to see if I can really kind of bring this heart rate down. The other thing and I'm going to talk a little bit about something else as well. Let me write that down. Check that off. Okay, so foods that are not recommended on the AIP diet. Grains, including wheat, barley, rice, oats, etc. Now, I love oatmeal. So when I saw this, that was like the first thing. I'm like, say what now? I'm not allowed to eat oatmeal. I'm not supposed to eat rice. And I love jasmine rice. I absolutely love jasmine rice. Barley, which is supposed to be good for you, is not recommended on the AIP diet. Wheat, definitely not recommended on the AIP diet. So basically no grains. Okay. Legumes, beans, lentils, peanuts, and soy products, not recommended on the AIP diet. I love beans. I love beans. Garbanzo beans is like my thing, okay? Lentils, I love lentils. Peanuts, I don't eat a lot of peanuts, but I have been known to indulge in like boiled peanuts and honey roasted peanuts and that sort of thing. So, soy products, I don't really eat a lot of soy products, but I do have from time to time. So these, just those two at the beginning alone, I was like, are you serious? Do I really have to get rid of all of those? Now, as a vegan, they're not a problem, but for the AIP, and because I'm really trying to get this heart rate down, and since I've been told that the AIP can actually benefit that, I will work on kind of lowering how much of these I do take in, right? It's going to be hard. I'm not going to say this is going to be easy because I love beans and I love lentils. Okay, so dairy products, not a big issue for me because I don't eat dairy. But we know that dairy is very inflammatory. So you want to try to cut down on, if you're experiencing any kind of autoimmune condition, you want to cut down or delete altogether any dairy products, milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream. And there are a lot of, when it comes to ice cream, there are a lot of plant-based ice creams out there now that are delicious. Let me tell you, I've tried them and they're absolutely delicious. So if ice cream is something that, you feel that you really can't give up, there are plant-based ice creams out there. But dairy products, very anti-inflammatory, so I'm not surprised that that is there. Processed foods. There are vegan products that are processed, so, and I have eaten a few of them, and there are some things that I know that I probably should not eat. I tried having wheat thins recently, and this was something I actually saw my doctor about yesterday. And that actually ties into the wheat. So we are trying to see if there's a connection. I've never been allergic to wheat thins, ever. And recently I had some wheat thins, it was last week, had some wheat thins and my tongue went crazy, swelling up. Okay. And we're trying to determine now with allergy testing if it was the wheat thins, the wheat in it, or it was actually some kind of additive that might have been in there that caused the reaction. So this is the other thing why I encourage you to keep a food journal and an exercise journal. You can make it all one, is to document all of these things and all of the experiences that you have when you eat certain foods, right? So processed foods, any food that contains any kind of additives, any kind of preservatives, and artificial ingredients. We know there's a lot of food out there that, you know, yellow number 4, red number, I don't even know the actual numbers, but if you look at foods and it has red number something, yellow number something, and words that you can't really pronounce, chances are you probably shouldn't eat them if you're experiencing any kind of autoimmune condition. But for tachycardia, you want to stay away from any kind of processed foods whatsoever. Okay. Nightshades. These are vegetables like tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, and peppers. I took a breath when I read that part because I love tomatoes, I love eggplants, and I love peppers. All of the sweet peppers, all the hot peppers. I'm not so huge on potatoes, but I will eat eat potatoes. You know, sometimes I have French fries, sometimes I have um, roasted potatoes with all kinds of seasoning on there. But nightshade vegetables are said to be definitely on the not list for people who have any kind of autoimmune conditions, and definitely, it looks like now, definitely on the not list for people who are experiencing tachycardia. That I will tell you is going to be a huge challenge for me to remove from my diet because they are vegan, but in trying to really lower my heart rate, these are ones that I'm going to really have to work on getting down. Now, potatoes do not include sweet potatoes. That is on the yes, please list. Okay. So let's go to the next list. Nuts and seeds. This is another one. And this includes all kinds of nuts except for the coconut. Except for the coconut. And seeds like sunflower and pumpkin. I have, I love walnuts, and this is a don't. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge there as well. Now, when I'm talking about this, I'm I'm going to recommend that you just gradually reduce. Okay. I'm not saying that go cold turkey. You can if you want to go cold turkey on eliminating it, but sometimes I know it's a challenge when you are already so used to eating these foods. It is a bit of a challenge to go cold turkey on them. Let me take a sip right here. And this is actually coconut water that I'm drinking. Okay, so those are nuts and seeds. So don't. Sugars, no surprise there. Any kind of refined sugars and sweeteners is they're not AIP compliant. Now, if you're eating a mango is super sweet, especially if it's really, really ripe. That is not what we're saying, that you're not allowed to eat a mango because it has sugars in it. What they're talking about is refined sugars. Like, don't go and get make a cup of coffee and then put 2 teaspoons of sugar of, into it. Okay, that's what we're talking about when you talk about refined sugars. Now, I do use honey and I do use brown sugar. White sugar is what I try to stay away from, and this is what they're referring to. If you can get raw sugar, uh, just try not to use it too much. If you can avoid sugar, then avoid it because we know that sugar is not really good for you anyway. Dates, I will say this though. Dates, you can actually blend the dates and make the syrup and use that as a sweetener. I've used date syrup as a sweetener before and it's natural. It comes from the fruit. But it's the refined sugars that they're trying to get you to stay away from. So for those of you who are watching, this is geared towards people who have the loop recorder and experience tachycardia. And I'm talking about the AIP diet, which is the autoimmune protocol diet in reference to people with tachycardia, because this is something I learned today, that you can actually use this to benefit the tachycardia symptoms to actually lower them. Okay. This is something I learned today. And even as a vegan, I'm looking at the autoimmune protocol diet, and there's some things as a vegan that I do eat, which I'm going to actually be gradually removing from my diet just to try to bring that down. And of course, last on the list is alcohol. No surprise there, right? All types of alcoholic beverages. So those are the don'ts. I know you're probably saying, well, I just need to stop eating. Okay, that's a lot. Yes. However, let's go to the do list. And there's quite a bit on the do list. Okay. Recommended foods on the AIP diet. Meats. Now, if you're a meat eater, meats that you should be eating are grass-fed beef. Really look at the label. It may cost a little bit more, but it will be worth it in the long run as far as your health is concerned. So do invest in the best beef possible, the best meats possible, because your body is going to actually thank you for it. So grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chicken, turkey, and wild caught fish. Not none of that farm raised stuff. Read your packets, and this is where, you know, all of this comes in hand. Journal, keep your journal. Read the packets when you go shopping. Don't just pick up, you see the thing, it says salmon, don't just pick it up. Read it and make sure it says wild caught salmon, because the farm raised salmon is loaded with all kinds of things. All kinds of things. So that's for the meats. As a vegan, I don't eat meat, but I know that for people who do eat meat, this is what's been recommended. So vegetables, all leafy greens, and this is on your do list. All leafy greens like spinach and kale, your cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and I know that on the don't list there was rice, but there's so many ways of ricing cauliflower. Um, but we talk about that another time. There's so many different like videos that I can make in addition to these that I will go through and come back at a later time to kind of give some information about that, how to use cauliflower in place of rice and that kind of stuff, right? Because I know that rice is hard for a lot of people to really just give up. And other non-starchy vegetables include zucchini, carrots, and sweet potatoes. So those are definitely a do. You want those on your diet. Fruits, all the berries, apples, bananas, and other low sugar fruits. Now it says low sugar, but mango, I love mangoes. I love all fruits, period. I will say this though, um, try to buy organic as much as you possibly can when it comes to fruits. Now, there are some fruits where you peel, like the banana. Not so much of a concern there as far as whether they're organic or not. The fruits where you have to peel the outside and you discard the outside, those you can choose between organic and the inorganic. However, ones like grapes, where you basically eat the whole thing, try to buy all organic, right? Really think about it. But if you can, buy organic all the time, if you can. I'm saying the ones with the thick skin that you kind of peel off and throw away. I'm saying that for, I understand people are on budgets and it's a challenge to buy everything organic. So if you can't, then just think about those fruits. And I can come back and actually you can even do the research. Foods that you must, or fruits that you should always buy organic, and fruits that you can kind of get away from, not having to buy organic because you're peeling off the skin or and discarding that, or for one reason or another. Okay, healthy fats. You have your avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil, and if you're if you do use animal fats, make sure to get those from a sustainably sourced meat, right? But try to stick to avocado oil, olive oil, and coconut oil. Now, coconut oil, you're probably saying, whoa, really? Um, Coconut oil, I think, gets a bad rap. I'm not saying go and cook everything with coconut oil. Try to have a mixture of different things. If I am making roasted potatoes, I will use olive oil, and I will, I will drizzle the olive oil over everything, and then I will put all of my seasonings. I shake them up in a container, then I'll roast them. If I'm Coconut, when it comes to coconut oil, I tend to use coconut oil for oil pulling, which is a whole other discussion. But I don't cook a lot with coconut oil because I know that it is one of those very, very heavy fats, right? But it is on the good list. It is on the healthy fat list. So avocado oil, olive oil, and coconut oil. Herbs and spices, I use a lot of different herbs and spices, a lot. But here are the ones that are on the AIP list. Fresh herbs, try to use fresh, but I understand that not everyone has an herb garden that they can just go and pick from all the time. So if you can't use fresh, dried is fine. Try to get the dried, look at the container again and make sure that it doesn't have all kinds of fillers in there, because that's one thing you'll find in a lot of the dried herbs are fillers. Fresh herbs like parsley and cilantro. Certain spices like ginger and turmeric. We know that ginger and turmeric are very anti-inflammatory. So those are herbs that you want to be using on a regular basis. I use them daily, sometimes several times a day. And we can talk about, there's a lot of videos that I've done where I've discussed ginger and turmeric because of when it comes to lupus and the inflammation that can occur in your body, using ginger and turmeric on a regular basis can actually help to bring that inflammation down. So if it's bringing inflammation down in your body, that includes your cardiovascular system, right? So we can see where ginger and turmeric can be very beneficial for people experiencing tachycardia or high blood pressure, those type of things. Bone broth. Now, this bone broth is very rich in collagen, and again, this isn't vegan, but it's very rich in collagen and nutrients that may also support your gut health. And again, when your gut is healthy, the rest of your body is healthy. If you're experiencing any kind of gut issues, chances are you're feeling it in the rest of your body as well. So you want to work on what you're eating, and that will actually benefit the rest of your body. Fermented foods, sauerkraut, kimchi, as long as they don't contain any non-AIP ingredients. So we'd have to go back to the non-AIP list and see there. But sauerkraut and kimchi. Now, I mentioned they're fermented foods, but you definitely don't want to go to yogurt, right? Don't want that unless it is plant-based, because most yogurts are going to be dairy. You don't want that. So fermented foods, definitely. And that's pretty much kind of covers the do list. You're probably saying that the don't list was so much longer. The thing is, when we start to make just little shifts in our diet, I'm not saying go out and like change everything up. And if you're just coming on and watching this is going to be recorded, so you can go back and you can kind of listen or do some of your own research. There's a lot of this on the internet. You just look up the autoimmune protocol diet and you'll be able to find this information. You can also look up the anti-inflammatory diet. A lot of the anti-inflammatory diet items may be on the don't list for the AIP diet though, so just kind of, play around. But if you're really looking to kind of bring down inflammation in your body, which is going to affect the rest of your body, really help to heal your body, start off with at least the anti-inflammatory diet and then kind of work your way towards the AIP diet. Okay? And if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. I'm not able to see the chat because I think I'm on my phone. I mean, I am on my phone, but I'm not able to see the chat, and I think it's because of that. But I will come back and we'll check those. I will check those comments afterwards. Okay, so another tip I wanted to talk about for those of you who do have a loop recorder implanted is there's a little device. Whenever you feel an episode, there's a handheld device. You press the button, you hold it, and it records. I don't use that device, and here's why. When you press the button and you hold it for it to record that spot, it doesn't tell you on your, when you get your printout, It doesn't tell you how fast it was. It just simply says that the client felt the episode. So you don't really get any information from it. So what I recommend doing is not using that device and writing down when you feel an episode so that you can go back and look at it, look at the time when you recorded and look at the time here to see if it actually recorded on your data printout. A lot of the times when you feel it, it doesn't necessarily show up on your printout, which is why I want you to keep that document, because you can say to your doctor, listen, I felt it here, but it's not on my data printout sheet. So why is that? And that would tell them that, hey, maybe they need to go and adjust the parameter. Because for me, I was feeling quite a few of them, but they weren't showing up on my sheet because they had the parameter a little bit too high. So now it's been lowered to 150 beats per minute, and everything is being recorded from 150 beats up. So that is one of the reasons why I don't use the little handheld device to record when I actually feel an episode, because it will not tell you how fast it was. It'll tell you what time you had it, but it will not actually tell you how fast that episode was. So I've stopped using the device and just allow everything to show up here, and that gives me tells me everything. It tells me it was a tacky episode. It tells me the date. It tells me the time it was detected. It tells me how long. Because that's the other thing. It doesn't, when you do the device, it doesn't, the handheld device part, it doesn't actually tell you how long the episode was. So this one, let me see, my longest one that was recorded was 171 beats per minute, and it lasted for 7 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel that one. So when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that was at 5:56 in the evening. I I honestly did not feel that. So there are times when you'll feel some and there are times when you won't, which again, if you feel it, document it in your journal. Have yourself a book where you can just write everything down, the ones that you feel. Also document your food, have a food journal as well, and then you can correlate that with your printout. Okay, and I believe, and two other simple ones. Dehydrate. If if you don't, if you're not, if you're okay, let's reword that. A lot of the times you can have tacky episodes because you're dehydrated. So make sure you're hydrating yourself a lot. Okay, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. The other thing is stress can cause your symptoms to increase. So try to eradicate stress from your life as much as you can. We know that we live in this world where it's life, okay? Lives periodically. So, but try to keep stress to a minimum. And that will also help with your tachycardia symptoms and episodes. Because you will notice if you have a particularly rough day, write that down as well. And then if you have any episodes, write those down. Then again, you can correlate that to days that are not as stressful, um, and see the difference in how many episodes that you have. Okay. And I think that's it. That actually went, I actually did that a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take. But I hope that there are some tips in here that are beneficial to you, even if it's just the AIP diet, or even if it's just, hey, keep a journal, write your stuff down, write everything down, write down all the foods you eat on a daily basis. Um, Here's the other thing about the AIP diet. Don't delete everything at once. And by that, I mean, okay, let me go back to the don't list and then talk to me for a second here. In the grains, wheat, barley, rice, oats. I'm not going to go in and take out oats and rice at the same time. I will probably remove the rice and I will stick to oats for a little bit and then I gradually reduce that. Also with beans, I'm not going to just completely remove all beans and all lentils and all peanuts all at the same time. Gradually reduce these things because otherwise you're you're it's going to be tough. I'm just going to say that. It's it'll be almost like people who are trying to come off of cigarettes. Okay? You probably will have withdrawal symptoms trying to remove so many different foods at once. So just again another reason for keeping a food journal, write the date down, say okay, today I am going to remove potatoes. Irish potatoes is what we're talking about. Remove the Irish potatoes, and that means no French fries, none of those things, right? Remove Irish potatoes on this particular day. And then you might say, okay, within another 3 weeks, I am going to remove beans, if beans is a tough thing for you to do. And then give yourself time again to remove something else. But don't try to do all of this just all at once because it's gonna hurt. I will just tell you that. It's gonna hurt. But I hope that this helps a little bit. So if you do have a loop recorder, I'd love to hear from you. There are a lot of people. Um, One of my popular videos here on YouTube is the one I did about my experience when I first got my loop recorder put in. And since then, a lot of people have gone on to that and have said, I'm so glad I found this video because here I am. I'm about to get my loop recorder put in, and I'm happy to hear your experience with it so I kind of know what to expect, that sort of thing. So if you do have one, I'd love to hear from you. If your doctor is telling you that you may need one, also go ahead and just pop a comment in the chat. But I'm also going to link the one that I did before so that you can kind of see how far I've come from. Back then, I was also diagnosed with lupus and a few other things. I've come a long way, and I can tell you that just little changes in your diet, just your diet alone, will really do help you. The only thing I was kind of sad about was exercise, because one of the things I was diagnosed with is POTS, and if you're familiar with that, it's postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. As as a cross country runner in my previous lifetime, I'm not able to run cross country anymore. So you kind of have to think about if you exercise a lot and that really pushes your heart rate through the roof, you may have to rethink the type of exercise that you can do. I actually have a rebounder, and that's what I've been using, and it really does help. It gives you probably in 15 minutes on a rebounder, gives you about an hour workout in the equivalence of running. Okay, so that's the other thing. Think about the type of exercise that you can do that is a shorter amount of exercise, but it still gives you a whole lot of benefit within a shorter time period. Again, something else that you might want to talk to your doctor about. But running has now been taken off my list of exercises. Okay, so I think that's it. Any questions? I am not able to see the chat, so I apologize if you have. Um, I actually do see, I think. Hi, there are a few of you who are commenting. So I just want to say thank you for those of you who actually came in and watched. And I really do hope that this has been a beneficial video. Any questions at all, just post them in the comment section and I will come back and I will, respond to those. And I will also, again, like I said, link my previous loop recorder experience video into this one so you can also hear from that perspective of having just started. This is my third loop recorder. I've had it replaced twice now, and so I'm going on to 7 years having had a loop recorder put in. This is not um, a pacemaker, so I want to make sure that you understand this is not a pacemaker. It's a loop recorder which basically just kind of monitors the heart rate. So for those of you who are not sure what I'm talking about, it's just it just monitors my heart rate 24/7, and um, it's inside. It's literally like there's a tiny cut that's made, local anesthetic, and then it's shoved in. I talk about all of that in the other video just to kind of give you an idea. So it is implanted into the chest, the right in the left side, um, just under the left breast, into right against the my chest plate above the heart. Okay, and that way my cardiologist is able to monitor me 24/7, as well as the company that makes the device, which is Medtronic. They can monitor me as well. So if you have any experiences with those, I'd love to hear from you. And if they're talking about putting one in, I'd also like to hear from you, and that way you can kind of help you along the journey, since I've been on this for a bit now, right? And kind of know exactly what happens and how you're going to feel afterwards and those type of things, because it's I had a few things, few experiences, some, and they were, a lot of them were not fun. So if I can kind of help you to navigate through this journey, if that's all that this video does for you, to just to help you to navigate, then it will have done something. But yeah, so thank you for being here, and again, any questions at all, just feel free to pop them in the comment section, and I will come back and respond to all of those. Love you guys, and be healthy.